This podcast is the sole property of Proud Sports. Our thoughts and opinions are our own.
Yeah. They say I walk like a king, talk like a king. You can act around now, say the same thing. They chasing the fame, they all want the name. But they ain't got what's running through these veins. Say I walk like a king, talk like a king. You can act around now, say the same thing. They chasing the fame, they all want the name. But they ain't got what's running through these veins. Make way for the king.
It's a Proud Panthers podcast, and I am Steven. You can follow along with me at Steven Beck PS on X, this podcast at Proud Panthers, and all of this is a part of Proud Sports, online at proudsports.com, PROWLED, sports.com. If it's your first time with us, thank you for making this a part of your listening, because this is the home for all things High Point University basketball, and we are coming off of a tough game at UAB on Friday night where the Panthers did take a loss in that one, 91-74, as it was set to be a difficult one headed in, something I had known far in advance as we received the non-conference schedule back towards the summer, it being really our lone true road test of our non-conference schedule. The rest are MTE type games or played at a neutral site environment. So just alone looking at that, knew it'd be difficult. UAB, a very solid mid-major program. Their head coach, Andy Kennedy, has been somebody that has had things really rolling and going there for a while. And so we have to now find ways to, yes, take inventory and learn from the things that happened on Friday night, but also you can't take your eye off the road very much now, because looking up, you'll see coming super fast Monday night, another game. Fortunately for us, it's going to be inside the Cobain Center and taking on Canisius. So we've got a lot to get to here on the Proud Panthers podcast today to get you set for that game and also help you try to get past the last one. All of that coming up right after this.
High Point University, the premier life skills university, is ranked the #1 best-run college in America by the Princeton Review. Employers value HPU's real-world preparation. Students love unprecedented access to global leaders on High Point's inspiring campus. And parents appreciate HPU's God, family, and country values. Choose to be extraordinary at High Point University.
Back now on the Proud Panthers podcast, and I am Steven. Thank you as always for being with us. Don't forget, after each High Point University basketball game this season, to join us on X. My page has been the sweet spot lately, trying to get all things tech to work out, and that is at Steven Beck PS on X. But also make sure you follow along this podcast on X as well at Proud Panthers, because that's where all the pods get uploaded and everything is there for you on both of those. But on X, after each game this season, we're doing a live spaces. And what's really, really cool about the home game spaces are that we get first dibs to hear from head coach Flynn Clayman after the game is over. And I don't know if you're like me, but as a High Point University rabid fan, as a fan of any team, honestly, I love to hear what the coach has to say. That is the person that has their fingerprints all over the team. And so to be able to hear what the leader of our team has to say coming off of a win or a loss is something that I will always appreciate. And so good news is with that, we have that luxury today as well. And I will say it is a luxury, because just consider this. Our High Point team traveled to Alabama to take on UAB, and that was a Friday night game. They got done with that game and had to ship it all back up to here in North Carolina. And now they have another game on Monday. So you're talking about Saturday and Sunday being your only full days to be able to watch all the film, get in some practice and shooting time, let the coaching staff regroup their minds to get set for Canisius. And so there's just a lot happening. And I am super appreciative of Coach Clayman for being giving of his time and joining us here on the Proud Panthers podcast. Despite the quick turnaround between games, we are fortunate to be joined now on the Proud Panthers podcast by head coach Flynn Clayman. How are you, Coach?
Doing great. Just got out of a great practice with our guys and ready to roll.
Well, I know for High Point fans, the game at UAB the other evening was a tough one, and I'm sure it was the same for you and the staff and players. I thought I might just start off there and see what your message to the team was after that game.
Yeah. So, I think for starters, I got to take some ownership in how we played. Like, I think I got a little soft on our guys in prep for that game and hoping for to be well rested and whatnot. And I'll take some ownership in that. We didn't execute our game plan. But I think that's on me also. Our game plan was a lot more to pack the paint, and they ended up getting 48 points in the paint. We obviously didn't reach our deflection numbers. You guys don't take those numbers, but I said after the Jacksonville game, if we gave the same effort we gave against Jacksonville against UAB, we would not win on the road. And it's ironic, but we finished with 32 deflections against Jacksonville, and we had 32 against UAB. So my message to them was, hey, we know now how hard it is to win on the road. And next time we're on the road, we have to be tuned up every little detail. I thought Coach Kennedy did a fantastic job in that game plan and what they did. So they deserve a ton of credit. But for us to win tough road games like that, and that is a tough road game, you gotta have every detail locked down. We have to have the scout and our game plan. We have to really be in tune with that. And then even on top of that, you're going to have to just play really well, to pull it out. So my message to them was, let's just tune it up a little bit. Let's move on and let's get ready to beat Canisius.
To that point, before we do move to the Canisius game coming up on Monday inside the Quabain Center, fortunately for us, we are back in our friendly confines. You mentioned Coach Kennedy. I felt like from watching that game, they really threw the book at every little look that anybody could try to attempt to give our offense. They did it. Matchup 2-3, a little bit of a pressure back into a 2-3, some man-to-man, of course. And then even I think there was a very slight small time where I saw 1-3-1 even in the game. Does all those different looks get you guys on a positive note more prepared now because we've seen a lot of different stuff, or should we also be expecting other teams to get this film and now saying, well, look, this is the recipe?
Mm-hmm. They didn't do anything that we didn't expect. They didn't do anything new. We prepared ad nauseum for that. I think just the whole program in general is more mature today than we were before the game because sitting there and preparing for their 1-3-1 and preparing for their 3-2 and preparing for their 2-3, things that we are good against and we will be good against. We should and will have a better points per possession against zones than we will against man. But the focus on the prep wasn't there. And that starts with me ultimately. I can't point the finger at any of the guys. So we've tuned up some things with that. He did a fantastic – they were doing little things that were just things that I respect. Like every time the ball went through the net, they were hitting it. So we couldn't get out and run. And it took a few times for the refs to recognize that and call a delay of game warning. I don't know if the clock, the shot clock not going 3 times when we're pushing it up the floor and then we've got to stop and have a dead ball because the shot clock's not, I don't know. But my point is, that same thing happened when I played BYU and I was at Southern Utah. It's there's a little stuff with the shot clock. We're trying to play fast. I'm not accusing anybody. My point to my team was when you're on the road, stuff like that seems to happen. and you have to be better than that. So I respect what they played Alabama State the game before too, and they were upset. So, our biggest battle as coaches is human nature, especially when you have a talented team. And so they battled human nature the game before. And Alabama State's a great program that went to the tournament and was giving Auburn a tough game. But that was their first loss ever versus SWAC school in about, I think it was like 75 games or something that they played. So then we're walking in and playing a super talented team. Don't get it twisted about UAB now. Their point guard averaged 17 a game at Mercer last year. Their two guard averaged 9 a game in the Big East last year and averaged 17 a game at Coastal Carolina as a freshman. Their three guard, the West Street kid, he was a 5-star kid. Kyron Lindsay was a 5-star kid that went to Georgia. Like, these are real guys, real Porter guys, but they did a fantastic job, and they were on the right side of human nature that game. Their team was playing very hard. They were very physical. They played really well, and we were just feeling probably a little full of ourselves, our guys. And but they've responded really well, so I'm excited about us going forward.
I haven't seen, sad enough to say, you personally shoot a basketball a lot, but I've always heard that where you really had mechanically crisp shooting and form and worked at that as part of your game a lot, you could probably be someone very known and polished to talk about this topic. But let's also be real and say it's not always going to be the case where you shoot 17% from three. Sometimes you just, as shooters, you have an off night. It happens. Mm-hmm. I am hopeful that there's some kind of way that you can try to battle against that. So when your shooting's off, what would you say to the team or to a player and say, like, this is what we got to do to try to beat that?
So that was something I talked about with our team today. That's again, when you're going on the road, we became a make or miss team in that game because we didn't defend that well and we did an offensive rebound. And you are going to, no matter how good your shooters are, and we have great shooters, especially on the road, but it can happen at home. And it really happens in conference tournaments. How do you avoid being a make or miss team, like a team who wins games when you make shots and loses when you miss shots? You got an offensive rebound. We have gotten away from offensive rebounding. That's a big challenge we're putting towards our guys, is to get back to that. And then obviously the defense needed to be better. And, ultimately you go down to UAB and you score, I think, what did we score? 74 points. 74. And we didn't shoot that well. You need your defense to hold them to 73. That's where you got to be on that. And you need to get a few more offensive rebounds so that maybe you're getting your score up to 80 and they're at 75, 76. That's what you got to do. But really, when I'm looking at the reaction from this game, I'm proud of where we are as a program. Like, we're on the road at not just an American school, but one of the top schools in the American. And fans are disappointed that we lost. Like, in a game where we're up at halftime and we're competitive pretty much the whole game. Now, when I got here 2 years ago, I don't think that was the case. Like, it just wasn't when we got here. And I'm really proud that this culture and this program is one of winning. We don't accept losing anywhere. And I really like that that's where we are. And we are pissed off about it, and we're trying to move forward and be a lot better. But we've been a good road team the last couple of years. I believe top 10 winning percentage in the country on the road. I looked this up the other day, and it could be wrong, but I use Sports Reference. But I think there's only 2 schools in the country over 80% win percentage on the road. And then there's over the last 2 seasons. And then there was, like, I think about 4 or 5 that were in the 70s. And then we're sitting right there in the mid 60s, and we're in the top 10. And it's that hard to win road games in college basketball. And our guys know that and accept that. And we just got to be a little more tuned up.
As I said before, it is good now. We're back at home. One less thing to have to be battling against to play Canisius. Do we feel like the team is able to turn that page to get ready for this game on Monday?
Yeah. Like I've said, I haven't had 2 bad practices in a row with this team. They didn't have a bad prep for this game. Canisius is coached by a great coach, the former head coach of Boston College, and they have a good program. They're going to be physical. They're a tough team. But I like our focus and our attention to detail. We've turned the page. We have mature guys. We have guys that accept fault, accept that they could do things better, that we probably didn't play hard enough. We watched the film. UAB played harder than us. It's just that simple. And I think if UAB watched their game before, they would tell you Alabama State played harder than them. That's what it came down to. So our guys have prepped well. They've turned the page. They're mature, older guys. They're professional, and they've had a good prep for this game.
Is there anything going against Canisius or going against whoever the opponent is after a loss that you do different?
What I've done different is just make sure I don't take my foot off the gas in terms of our aggressiveness of prep. I'm going to worry a little less about fatigue and a little more about us being some dogs. So I've just flipped my mindset. My assistants kind of got on me about just being a little soft about it. So I'm not. That's not who I am. So I'm looking more in the mirror. Our guys basically do what I ask them to. They're great guys. There's little things here and there. Of course, they're young adults, but for the most part, I've never had a team that's as responsive to the head coach as these guys have been. So I can't point any finger at them. I've asked them to respond in a certain way, and they had. So any changes that are being made is fingers pointing at me.
We are looking forward to seeing our team back at home in action again, so we can all kind of move forward as a team that has to realize also that we're 3-1 and we're still in a good spot here. It is just one game on the schedule, but it is also, I would say, encouraging to hear from you, Coach, but also hear that accepting that as a loss or not wanting to back down from things like that, and that challenge is got to be something that's good for all High Point fans.
It is, and we'll continue to improve throughout the year too. That's like I try to have a big picture focus on things. We have to just continue to get better till March. Like, we all understand where we are. We do want to win every single game we play, But I always kind of admired Phil Jackson when I grew up watching the Lakers, and sometimes he would just let his team weather a storm in a regular season and not always take control of that because he had that championship in mind, and so these guys, it's part of the process is going through situations like that where you don't play as hard as you can. And maybe you're not as worried about the game plan as you should be worried about, our guys now, that's part of our growth process towards March. We had other things in the bag that we might've been able to throw at UAB in terms of defensively and offensively. But we've grown a lot from that game. And our goal is to trend up towards March.
Well, thank you for giving very much of your time, all opportunities that you can for the Proud Panthers podcast, the High Point fans, and we really appreciate hearing from you.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Go Panthers. Let's have a good game tomorrow night.
That was head coach Flynn Clayman with us here on the Proud Panthers podcast, helping us to look a little bit backwards, but now forwards, getting set to take on the Golden Griffins, which is a very interesting mascot, honestly. A 2-2 Canisius team coming into the Cobain Center on Monday night. I did find it interesting there that Coach Clayman shared with us. He's kind of flipped how he's going to approach things a little bit now after talking with his coaching staff, having that time to look and be retrospective. I don't know that exactly what we are able to see on the court would be recognizable by anybody because we're seeing things from a far out distance. And I guess what I'm really trying to get at to say is I think it's awesome that the staff, a really good, solid coaching staff, when you know all the different guys sitting beside of Flynn on the bench, but it's really encouraging to know that they've got his back and they're all having these meetings where they can discuss, okay, hey, we may need to turn up the gear a little bit different next time getting set for a game. At least that's what it sounded like. And so I think that's really interesting to know. I guess from our 50,000 foot view way back here, what I would hope that we would see then is a different outcome, a different type team coming out of the gate when they're on the road, because I know that that is something that, again, I have highlighted and tried to verbalize and share as much as possible, just beating teams. And in fact, Coach Clayman shared it there with us. Beating teams on the road is difficult. And it sounds as if, though, that we are in the top 10, believe it or not, of that category, but it's not easy. So we have Canisius coming up inside the Quabain Center. We've got the luxury now of playing a majority of our games inside of the Quabain Center. We've got that true road test behind us. Now, the interesting part is that we do have some MTE stuff coming up, but again, we don't have to worry about playing at another opponent's venue until we actually get into conference play. So that is something that is kind of a nice thing to know. I hope that the fans are out. We need to get out there and really encourage this team despite coming off of a difficult one. Get back on track. I know that there are some things that I'm sure not only was shared here, but this team has learned, and now they're going to be able to showcase that immediately in a quick turnaround. So we will be with you on Spaces after the game on X at Stephen Beck PS. Join us there. Talk about the game, share your feelings, your thoughts, but also hear again from head coach Flynn Clayman. And we're going to be back here on the Proud Panthers podcast, hopefully also putting a bow on that game as well against Canisius. So try to join us as often as possible, and we are certainly appreciative of it. Everything online at proudsports.com.